Heavily sedated.
I always write down your first words. Like you're a baby child.
What is sedated?
Dull.
Yeah, but like if you're sedating someone, what would you do to them?
What would I do to them?
I'm asking for a friend. But like, what do you slip into their drink or whatever?
Oh God.
What do you give to someone if you're trying to sedate them?
Drugs.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, do you know anything about sedation? I don't. That's what I'm asking. You know, is it like sleeping? Is that when it makes them sleepy? Is that what it is?
Give me such a good cough.
Well, I just don't know what it's about. I don't understand even the first place to start. Or even, does it literally mean sleepy?
I guess.
I don't know. But I feel sedated. You know what I mean? I feel like last week I was the opposite of sedated. You know, though at the time I didn't feel that way. A lot of things I did were not sedated, you might say. A lot of the kind of, anyways, I'm going to apologize about that, about last week's podcast, but that'll be later in the show. For now, I like to say, I spend my life pranking people. You know, most people don't know it. They never get let in on the joke. But they go home and they say, I saw this guy today. He was talking crazy. You know, and maybe they might always reference it. Hey, remember that guy talking crazy in the shopping center? You know, remember he said to his wife, "Buy me this woman's magazine, or I'm going to burn down the shed." You know, I always try to leave a lasting impression.
Sensational.
Sing your heart out.
Get mad. Mad.
Be happy.
You have the right to remain silent.
Shut up.
Anything you say will be used against you. Against you. Against you. Against you.
That's the true reality. This is why I hate prank shows and, you know, internet pranksters. As a well-seasoned and practiced pranker, I would never film a prank. You know, pranking is an art. It's not meant to be captured, but remembered. You know, and spoken fondly of. You know, remember the time Dave crazy glued Leon's teeth together? Me, I'm not a hardcore pranker. I'm not doing giant installations. You know, I'm basically a guy who does surrealist landscape paintings in the park. You know, I do a nice painting of a park, but with a dog walking a guy. Similarly, in real life, I might growl at a dog and get it a little riled up. I'm a subtle prankster. I just want to add a few bouncing balls to the vast halls. You know, otherwise, all those old pictures can be heartwarming. Pranks keep the grayscale of the world at bay. Yeah. I learned that word recently, grayscale. See, I wrote so many things this week in my notes that I look back on and I go, that's just not very nice. I go, oh god darn, that's, you know what I mean? That's like sexual. You know what I mean? It's too sexual for my taste. That's one thing about becoming educated. Education is not sexual. You know? Being suspended from school is a threat of violence. You know, because uneducated people perish. See, like that was something I would throw away. The only thing that makes me emotional is hearing smart people speak. You know, when you hear someone speak real smart, you know, in an interview and a little part of you dies. You know, you realize, I'll never be that smart. You know, because the world is filled with so much stupid content, you start thinking, maybe everyone in the world is retarded. You know, and that is a very depressing place to be mentally, you know, because you spend your whole life thinking you yourself are retarded. You know, and then you hear someone speak in a video, you know, about a thing, could be gardening or I don't know, how they love painting a picture. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter even if you agree with what's in the video. But to hear them speak well, you know, that brings a tear to my eye. You know, where the new WWE puts a pit in my gut. One person's creepy is another person's romantic. You know, if you buy me a pair of silk underwear, I'm calling the police. Imagine me in a woman's underwear store. You know, hi, I want the ones with barely anything to them. You know, but the ones that say a lot. You know, I want them in violet. Malls are so painful. You know, I always stand outside the store. Yannicka shops. You know, which seems like a good idea, and you know, alleviates the first wave of anxiety until the next wave hits, you know, and I feel like a human trafficker. You know, just in a leather jacket, you know, not making eye contact, not on a phone either, just like, not a good look, you know, not a good look for the mall, you know, or in the store, or I don't belong in the mall. You know, I belong at the flea market. You know, or at a fair, or carnival, and not working, but buying memorabilia. You know, like a brass knuckles belt buckle or Zippo. An inappropriate flag. Don't the worst people go to the fair? What?
I feel like the laugh before was just so perfect.
You know, save families and high schoolers. Otherwise, just odd mofos, you know? Drinking beer in plastic cups and chatting, you know, some people who park, you know, same people who park at Tim Hortons at 3 a.m. and meet up, just live in person, getting drunk. They're nightlife culture, you know. People that go to strip clubs and hang out at pawn shops. You ever notice whenever you go to a pawn shop, there's always another guy just hanging out. That guy goes to the fair. And drinks beer from brown bottles. And he sits with a woman who dispatches a cleaning company named Natalie. She's 52, still smokes and does coke. They both have flip-flops on and laugh with a mouthful of cavities and silver fillings. People at the fair die in fires caused by cigarettes, burnt up in the armchairs they fought their exes for in small claims court. And they die falling asleep, at the wheel, drunk and on the way home from bingo. You probably don't know them, the people at the fair. Count yourself lucky. You don't want to know us. Curses are all based on the wording. The best way to beat a curse is to outsmart it. I don't know if you know anything about curses, but it's like being served. You have to witness the cursing. And it's basically a riddle that traps you. Like I was cursed by a palm reader. They said, you're going to try hard and fail. And for years I thought, heck, what's the point of trying if I'm just going to fail? Then it hit me. If I don't try, I can't fail. And from that moment on, I never tried again. I only just did it. There was no more trying. There's only doing. I just picture that, palm reader. They just they feel like the cosmic, effect of me being the curse. And they're like, dang nabbit, lost another one. And they write it down in their little cursing book. You know what I mean? I don't know about fasting. People from starving countries love it. It's kind of like, pushing your car, to save on gas. It's good for the legs, but hard on the back, Fasting is like pushing your car to work, then peeing in your eyes and staring into the sun while standing on an iceberg. It makes you spiritual because you're that much closer to heaven. Who knew the secret to nirvana is starving to death? No one can tell you because they died. Who knew ascending meant ascending? I've seen so much today, says the guy fasting, sweating, and talking to his great-great-grandfather. You know anything about fasting?
I looked into it once after I read a story about some IRA women fasting in prison.
Oh, wow.
But apparently there's this old man somewhere in India
who
says he hasn't eaten or drank anything since he was 11. So that would make his fast 70 years.
What?
And all accounts say they observed him for a few weeks and he acted normal, went to the washroom, everything, but didn't eat or drink. And obviously they think he's connected to some goddess, but 70 years apparently. Because I was looking up longest fasts.
Slap money, that guy sounds like a ghost. It's just simply a ghost. He's like, I don't have to eat. That's amazing. Hasn't eaten for 70 years. I mean, I feel like I haven't eaten anything good in 70 years, you know what I mean? Fucking the world, there's no more good fast food. Any other things you know about fasting? This podcast is going to be extra short this week. It's crazy how much you forget. I don't recognize half the people on Facebook, not their names or faces. People see the clips of my podcast on Facebook. You know, I share it on Instagram, and it like shares to Facebook, and I see them looking, but I don't remember. Even the friends, I remember their faces and maybe their first name. I forget like their last names. You know what I mean? And their names are there, but it's still like I mean like it's like I'll even see their last name there on their Facebook, and I'll be like, don't remember that being their last name. You know, I think I was cloned. You know, replaced. You know? I figured the real me is off being tortured someplace. Hey, better him than me. I don't see the problem with brothels. You know, what's worst? A brothel or a porno? Comment below. You know, it would be hilarious if they legalized brothels and they started popping up like weed shops. You know, in every strip mall. Kind of like fucking microbreweries. But it'll fall under small businesses. Half a UFC merch shop and half a jerk off booth. You know, just a place called Hole in the Wall. You heard it here first, you know, and you can take that to the bank. If you're going to start a brothel, you're calling it Hole in the Wall. You know, and guess what? On the other side of the wall isn't the woman in the picture hanging on the wall by the entrance. No. It's a bisexual guy named Karen. You know, who hangs out at pawn shops. And loves getting drunk at the fair. The future is promises fulfilled with lies. I'm the kind of guy who will saw off the roof of a car, you know, and call it a convertible. Anything to feel alive. Maybe that's why I went to prison. Last podcast. Do you remember that one? What I got? Hair? I got coffee? Oh, God. Darn! I have to start that part over. Last podcast. Remember that one? I did some, how would you say, improvising. You know, and like it got out of hand. And I am sorry for improvising. Okay? And I promise to never improv like a wild demon again. Please accept my apology. It comes from a place of sorrow. How dare I think that me, a no-good rotten dummy, would have the audacity to try to make up something funny on the spot. Idiot. You know? Is what I say. That's what I say. Fool, ghoul, mule, no good rotten gum in the hair. That's what I say about me. You know? Loose cannon, you know, devil lover, mutt, and smut, and fut, and of course, crut. I am the crut on your boot, and I'm the soot in your chimney. I promise to never attempt such an act from such an untrained position again. I am a weakling and a woman in a big fluffy dress. That's the sound of my wheels flattening. I am motionless. Good. Don't try to be funny again, you fucking little bitch. Please accept my apology. If I was bipolar, I would say, not this time. You know, a bipolar person would never apologize. That's the thing about being bipolar. You always avoid responsibility, because every time, you know, the man's about to hold you accountable, you jump to the other pole. You know what I mean? I like to take a beautiful mind approach to mental what is that word? What's like seeing like a vision? Apparitions. Fuck, I wrote that word and I can't even say it. I like to take a beautiful mind approach to mental apparitions. If I see them, I think, very clever girl. I don't acknowledge them, you know. Not that I have them, but if I did, I would just think, that's odd. Actually, if I heard a voice in my head, I would go, oh, fuck no. I'd be like a black person in a haunted house. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I'd go straight to the mental institution, you know what I mean? Just one sound. I'd be like, fucking arrest me, you know? I'd be like, shock me. Give me shock treatment immediately. I'd be there, you know what I mean? But it turns out the shock wipes my memory, but I still hear the voice. It remembers all the stuff, you know what I mean? And taunts me with my childhood memories. You know, the last thing I would do if I heard a voice in my head would be do what it's telling me. Even let's say I was about to, you know, brush my teeth, and a voice said, put the toothbrush in your mouth. First, I'd scream, ah! Second, I'd toss the toothbrush on the floor. And then, you know, I may never brush my teeth again. I'd probably brush it with my fucking finger. And then next, I'd be at the mental institution again, demanding a fucking lobotomy. You know what I mean? I'd be like, the shock treatment didn't work, doc. You know, I'd rather eat through a straw than hear a voice in my head that says, throw your mother down the stairs. If I hear that, I'm throwing myself down the stairs. You know what I mean? Immediately. I hate mumbo jumbo. I hate voices, visions. I hate ghosts and aliens. Some might say, it's because you're afraid. Imagine not being afraid of mumbo jumbo. That's why it's mumbo jumbo, not everything's fucking groovy, you know? You know those fucking people? Those son of a bitches, you know what I mean? They're like, I am one with the vision. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, you're just afraid of a ghost. Yeah, I better not see a ghost, you know what I mean? I'm burning down everything. You know, they're like, the voices serenade me to dreamland. What? They're just like, well, I conjured the ghosts. I'm like, oh god darn, well, therein lies your problem. You don't need fucking psychology. You don't need therapy. I've seen a few weird things, you know? Like, I was sitting there one time, and, I don't know, a thing just flew across the room. in 5, 4, 3, 2. Thanks for tuning in.
Somebody stop me. Sensational. Sing your heart out.
Get mad! Bad!
Be happy.
You have the right to remain silent.
Shut up!
Anything you say will be used against you, against you, against you, against you.
That's the true reality. I feel like my eyes are like dark as the night. Now I feel like a guy waiting downtown, you know what I mean, in the IRA, just like, yeah, Richie now, lad. I've got the peep boom up my poozer. I pulled it out and I threw it under the car.
So episode 22, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
22 is my birthday. 22 is 11/11. 22 is a damn good year to be eating ice cream sandwiches. I feel like I have a mental fog that's overcome me, you know what I mean? I feel like all of my improvs are just slightly out of touch today. I can't. They land here, I reach for it, and I just fall moments or millimeters or cunt hairs before the drop. All right, next question.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. I feel like these kinds of questions, like the singular favorite ones, are hard to answer, though I'm the kind of person that will literally always say things along the lines of, that's my favorite movie.
They're meant to put you on the spot, just the first thing you think of. Obviously, you think of something.
Well, the first thing I think of is Jaws.
Okay.
And I don't think that's my favorite movie, but maybe in my subconscious, I believe that's the best movie ever made.
Yeah, what the fuck, though?
Me neither. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Why? So the first thing that comes to my head is that, but if I'd have to, and maybe that's the movie that's most watchable for me. Mm-hmm. Maybe all these movies I'm like, oh, I'm back. But then I go to try to watch that, and I go, oh, these guys are speaking Chinaman. Next question.
Do you have any irrational fears?
No, I think all my fears are rational as could be.
Do you have a mantra you live by?
The mantra I live by is think and grow rich.
What's a topic you could spend hours talking about?
Thinking
Thinking?
and growing and becoming rich. And the deep philosophical aspects of what each of those things mean. You know, the things I could talk about is just stuff in general. Things I cannot talk about are niche subjects. I don't know anything about, Yamaha keyboards. Did you know about the model 7983? And some guy's like, yeah, I know about the 7983 had a combustion problem in the board. I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah. And then that goes across, soccer player. You know Jean-Luc? He was going up against Marit and Emirat. Yeah, he went up against Emirat. Jean-Luc against Emirat, and he kicked the ball, and it went right through the net. And then Emirat was on steroids. But then, so when he kicked the ball, it actually injured his ankle. Those are the kind of things I could never talk about. But I could talk about, is soccer more of a real sport, or is hockey more of a real sport? And then I could talk about that for like 5 hours.
What's your favorite thing to drink?
Sweet river water.
Do you have favorite song lyrics ever? First thing that comes to mind.
The first thing that comes to mind is definitely something by Gigi Allen. Like, watch me kill the Boston girl.
Is there anyone today you'd say is a true living rock star?
Anyone who just explodes with a bomb strapped to their chest.
Is a rock star.
They're true living. They were anyways.
What do you dislike about music today?
What I dislike about music today is how you can get a bunch of fans because of the internet now that like what you do, and not everyone has to kind of like it. So now you can appeal to literally just like an audience of people that are bad people, and then there's enough of everyone out there. Each group is broken down into the different groups. These are the bad people. They're like, yeah, I love hurting people. You make music for them. Then there's people that love love. You make just love songs. There's people that just want to be left to their lonesome. You make left to their lonesome songs. That's not good, you know. It'd be better if everyone had to make a little bit of all the music feelings, and then everyone was like, came together, and they're like, dude, we're all together, you know. But instead they're like, it's just us. We're all wearing the same clothes, you know. We all hate the same thing. We all like the same thing. We are clones. That's what I hate about music. It's a vehicle for division.
What's the best lesson your mother taught you?
If you always do the cleaning, you own the house.
What role would you play in a movie?
I'd be the bad guy.
I'll ask you that like every year. You'll say that.
Well, it's just more fun. And it's like, as a person that's not the bad guy in real life, it's like, I don't like the bad guy. So it's like becoming the bad guy. It's like, you know what's bad. So you become all the things you know that are bad, you know? Becoming the good guy, well, then you just gotta like be really following the line. You gotta be following the script real close, you know? Because if you come off even a little bit of unvirtuous, then you're just not being the good guy.
What's the most incredible thing you've ever seen?
Next question.
Who's your style icon?
My style icon is homeless people.
What's your most overused phrase?
You know what I mean?
When's the last time you cried?
The last time I heard a smart person speak.
Resurrect one person from history to be in the world today.
The Dalai Lama. Oh, I
Is he
mean,
dead?
I mean Buddha. Yeah, that guy. I'd bring Buddha back from the death. Yeah. That's the end. Hi. Touche. 22. How many more to go? 3 more. And then
See, Season 2.
Season 2.